Two-Face issue 1, Christian Ward writing with Fabio Veras on the art. So yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect from this, honestly. Obviously, yeah, we did read that one book or two books by Ward.
But he did the art for Andromeda, and then
the art for Andromeda, but he wrote that Gotham book, which was the Cthulhu kind of stuff.
Yes.
Which was really good. To be
City
fair.
of Madness, I believe
that sounds right. Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, this is Two-Face. It's Harvey Dent, and seemingly quite quickly, there's kind of like a sort of, I don't want to call it backstory, but there's a little bit of setup at the start with like a really sort of like sort of neon purple kind of art style. But then when it gets into the main story, we find out they're at the White Church, and it's basically a criminal trial held by criminals inside Gotham, and Harvey's there to defend the fact. So someone from the Falcons got killed, and so someone's blaming Zsasz for it. We find out, and Harvey's there to defend Zsasz, or at the very least prove that he's not the killer. And so it's a trial episode, and he basically goes through the evidence and talks about the type of people that Zsasz kills. And no one's arguing that Zsasz is innocent of killing people. Of course he isn't. He's got his tally marks and all that. Here's your previous victims. You've had 70 kills or whatever. But he always, tallies the body, and there's no tally mark on this. So they show the dead body of the guy that was killed. They show his last victim before, like Zazzy's known last victim, and she has a tally mark. The guy doesn't, and it all turns out to be the guy that's actually gunning for Zazzy's head from the crime family is the one who killed him because he wanted his job, and he couldn't help but steal his ring, and that's the smoking gun that Harvey ultimately finds that proves all of this. And it's like Harvey's in his element again, because he's, even though it's like a weird underground criminal system, it's...
There's a line that they said, it's the law for the unlawful, right? So they still have this code. And because Harvey was a district attorney, he's bringing that element to it. And I just thought it was a fun twist on the character, right? Because at the end of the day, he still is about balance and fairness, right? So even in this trial done by criminals, there's still a right and a wrong. And I thought that was again a fun element to throw into Two-Face, or to throw Two-Face into.
Yeah, and obviously there's the whole coin tossing, the judgment and all that of the guy, and the coin lands down, tails, right, with the scratched outside. And Two-Face kills the guy who actually had murdered, so it was basically the prosecution was the one who turned out to be the killer, and Two-Face kills him. And I mean, Zsasz makes a big show of it. Zsasz grabs this woman who's in the crowd watching it play out and threatens to kill her, which I actually really like Two-Face's reaction to that. He's like, "You idiot, I'm about to prove you're innocent. What are you doing? Why are you grabbing a human to kill?" And this woman comes to see Two-Face after and basically wants to work for him. That's kind of makes him an offer. And she goes home, and it seems like Zsasz has followed her home. It seems like we're setting up that Zsasz has picked her as his next victim. And a really interesting thing here is there's a little speech bubble coming from his tally marks that says she's very pretty, and Zsasz is like, yeah, she'll join us real soon, which is actually very creepy. But the big thing for me, though, at the end of the issue is that Two-Face, it turns out, is actually Harvey's keeping the Two-Face persona locked away, because the opening of the book that did the backstory kind of made it clear that this other personality that Two-Face has, the Two-Face personality, that was already in there. And I've always read it that way, that this is a mental illness, that the accident with his face kind of unlocked it, but that temper was always there. That other side to him was always there. The end of the issue, it turns out that he's actually been successfully keeping it locked away. He still talks to him. We still have this dual conversation between them. Yeah. But Two-Face points out eventually they're going to realize you're faking me. So in the other parts of the issue where he went angry and pretended he was the Two-Face persona, and when he kills the guy, it's actually just Harvey pretending to be the Two-Face persona, which is a really interesting dynamic, that he's keeping the real Two-Face locked up internally, but he's having to convince the other criminals that he's still the dangerous Two-Face. But it also explains why he's in his element, being a lawyer again, being an attorney.
Yeah, because they tell him you're not a district attorney anymore, and he's like, "Yeah, I know, but still." That's what the Two-Face tells him. But I like it because it's also in a typical Two-Face story. It's Harvey trying to sell to who we think of the good guys, Gordon, Batman, whoever else, that he's not Two-Face anymore. And in here, he's trying to tell the villains that he is Two-Face, but he's really Harvey.
Yeah.
And so
it's an interesting dynamic. And when he's talking to like the Two-Face persona towards the end, and he's talking to him in the mirror, it's a really nice touch that in the mirror, the Two-Face persona is like all Two-Face, like he's all the Burnside, which is really interesting. And then the final page shows that he's like in a prison cell inside his own mind, and they sort of represent this with like a half, like sort of, imagine like the Sphinx or something like that. It's like a big like Harvey Dent face built of brick in a desert, but it's only half of the face, but the prison cell that Two-Face is locked in is inside this weird, monolith looking thing. Yeah,
and this is a fun thing that I looked at too, right? Is that the scarred face is the left side of the face, right?
Yes.
So the normal side, the Harvey side. And Ward, being a artist by trade, right, keeps that dynamic all throughout when we see it. So when we see this half of the face, it's the right side. That's this like the Sphinx thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it is a representation of Harvey keeping the Two-Face persona locked inside on that. And I just thought that was a real fun, tag on a tag.
Yeah, I think this was a really good issue. I mean, the art's really good for a start, and really kind of nails the kind of the drama of the court case, and then the more out there stuff with the representation of what's inside Two-Face's head, and even just keeping it, because this could get very confusing very easily, is him talking to himself in the mirror, but the one in the reflections, like all the burn side or scarred side, like it could get very confusing very quickly, but it keeps everything straight and you understand it. But I actually found the murder case that he's doing in the middle compelling. Like I actually was quite interested in. Obviously, Zsasz is not a good guy, but it does make sense that a criminal would use Zsasz as like a scapegoat. It's like, well, yeah, Zsasz is a crazy man. He killed him. Let's deal with that. But it's all just a front for him covering up his own murder. Like I enjoyed all that, but where I really liked it though was that last third where it kind of became okay. This dynamic of Two-Face not being in control, it's actually Harvey, plus this like extra threat of Zsasz like hunting down this woman who wants to work for Two-Face. Super interesting. Who, for the record, has like a hearing aid, I think is what they reveal here at the end, when she's just taking a hearing aid out.
Oh, I did not notice that. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, the scars talking to Zsasz, I don't know. I haven't read a ton of Zsasz, so if that's a new thing, I really like it because it adds the creep factor. And also how he keeps a razor blade in his skin that he uses, and I was just like, he's creepy. And so just the whole thing where Harvey's like, yeah, he's a murderer, but he didn't murder this guy. Again, I thought that was a fun little part of the story. Yeah,
because it says Harvey's agreeing to let her work for him. He says, sometimes I need eyes and ears elsewhere, and that's when you get the panel of her taking the hearing aid out, which is an interesting little,
Well, and she has a scar behind her neck, right? And so is that from the hearing aid? Right? Is that because it looks like one of the Zsasz scars?
It does, but like some people do get scars there if they've had their ears worked on. But or is it just a case of like, did Zsasz like cut her there earlier when he was grabbing her? I'd have to go back and
I'm looking right now. I don't.
Because he's got a hold of her. I don't know if he's holding a blade at that point though. But yeah, she may be a survivor. Like maybe that. I mean, that would explain why she's at this court case in the first place. She's there to see if Zsasz is guilty and if he's going to get what he's got coming to him. So that would make some sense, and maybe we'll develop her a little bit. Her name's Miss Cantwell. For the record.
Also, what does Harvey use to kill the Falcone guy? Is it the knife that he had? Or is it his
Honestly,
bare hands?
it's in silhouette, so to me it looked like he just punched him through the head, if I'm honest.
But yeah, because I'm like, did he go straight for the eyes? Like he used the old thumbs to the eyes trick, or did he steal the knife from the guy? Either way, it's super brutal because the group of criminals are standing there kind of, you know, awkwardly.
Yeah, they're freaked out by it. Yeah, whatever he's done. Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good stuff. I really loved Ward's take on Harvey and City of Madness. And so when this book got announced, I was like, okay, there should be more of that. And it's not exactly the same, but he seems to be really interested in that Harvey Two-Face dynamic and who's really in control there, right? And so if this is what this is going to delve into, I'm really here for that.
Yeah. Also, nice touch in the art as well to make it like to build up this new character of Cantwell is that the first time we see her, she's just in the crowd, but the art, the coloring really makes her stand out because everyone else is kind of muted, but she's wearing this like bright red jacket. And then it goes into a closer panel right as Zaz is saying that he always tallies everyone that he kills. So even in the context of when she's introduced in a way that's tied to Zaz talking about killing, which makes it feel like she's going to be tied to him thematically, if nothing else. So it makes her feel like this woman, whoever she is going to be important. And then, of course, throughout the rest of the issue, she gets involved. She almost becomes a victim. And then Zaz is chasing her. She comes to talk to Harvey. But yeah, maybe, like if she was a survivor of Zaz, maybe that's what's motivating her to come here in the first place. So I'm actually really curious to see where they go with that. But yeah, they definitely make Zaz look like a really brutal, vicious killer in this issue with the sort of the implications of what his crimes have been. And like, here's 6 of Zaz's most recent victims. I'm like, 6 of his most recent, you say? Like, how many are we at total? Because that's racking up a lot of kills at this point.
One of my things is always like, what happens when he runs out of space? If it ever gets to that spot, you know what I mean?
He's got legs and stuff. We don't know how many tally marks he's got down there.
No, I know. So yeah, it was always one of those ones. But yeah, and it goes, and just the way that the art handles the scars on him, the tally marks, everything seems so grotesque.
Yeah.
So it drives home how much of a in a world where you have Croc, right, and you have Harvey with his burned face and whatever, it seems like Zaz is much more of a creature than either of those two, right? Because of his unique sickness here. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Really excited to see where this goes. Because this is a mini, right? It's not an ongoing.
I think so. I think it's a mini. Or it may be one of those ones where they didn't actually tell us, but we're all just assuming that it's probably a mini. Sadly, in a way, it was very good because it means that we're going to keep reading it, and there's a lot of books right now. But hey, good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah.
So, what are you giving Two-Face issue 1?
I'm gonna give this a 9.
Whoa, just straight to the 9. I mean, I kind of get it. I think I'm going to be a little bit more conservative and say 8.5, but it is very good. I went into this not necessarily expecting anything, but it was kind of like, okay, it's like book number 8 of 9, and I've read a lot of books already. Like it's almost going to have to be really good for me to not just be feeling like, oh, another comic book. But then it was actually really good. So it didn't matter. It overcame any fatigue that I might have otherwise had whilst reading my books. So credit where credit's due.